Do you sometimes feel like being the self followed by a shadow of the ego? I don't know, because that's your particular terminology and the way that you see the world, and I don't know what all of that means. Like Roger, one of my main teachers, and Ramesh would say, who you are is the ego. So I don't know what your definition is of that. But there is two things that seem to happen in this experience. Is there is this connection to source, there's this connection to the divine, to the infinite, and then there is the appearance of a character, and that character has neurosis and not neurosis, and it acts in its particular conditions and genetic makeup, and that's always expanding and developing. So, I mean, you can call it whatever you want, and there is shadow stuff in that separate self. It has to be. I mean, I don't know exactly what you mean by the concept of shadow, but so say if that construct of self, like it has shadow stuff. So what I would call shadow stuff is that, say, for example, if I follow the government's rules because of fear of punishment from the government, like that in a way is shadow stuff, because that fear of the government was something that was taught to you in childhood, like the fear of authority and to respect authority. So in some, so that is like an unconscious manifestation that happens when I follow the rules. For example, not crossing the road when the lights aren't flashing green to cross. And if you get more complex, like more complex shadow stuff, then if you went into like that could manifest in relationships as well, like the relationship to the mother, the relationship to the father. And so when someone behaves in a particular way, there could be a removal from that situation, but it's not conscious, it's just a removal of myself from that situation because of like uncomfortableness with that experience before. I don't find that I have much nastiness coming out of me anymore. Like if I hurt people, it tends to be as an accident. That's from years and years of being exposed to this subject. Sometimes I can be like competitive with my mum, I notice. It's embarrassing if she watches this and hears. Like, and I can feel myself doing it, and then I feel myself like relax that dynamic. Like I don't really want to compete with her. Like there's just a habit there that comes. So these are all shadow things. So, but I don't think that like our habits and conditions as a personality structure is based on opposites. So good and bad, fear and bravery, like and dislike, disgust and joy. I don't know what's the opposite to disgust. Pride and shame, guilt and blame. Like they are made up of opposites. But the ones that have lots of doership in them and lots of personal self tend to diminish. So if you imagine someone really lightened, so if you're deciding whether I've made it or not in your mind, whether I'm enlightened or not, like who cares? But if that's important to you, so take someone else, ignore me, and take like another teacher that you think is really enlightened, like in their personality structure, I suggest that at some point in their day-to-day interactions with someone, they will think that they know more than that person. And that, you could say, is a shadow side. Like, they know more and the other person knows less. Or that they are right and the other person is wrong. Like, these are all going into these shadow sides. It might be that it's projected outside, and it might be very light shadow stuff, but it's all going into that realm. Or like something that often happens in spiritual communities, like is that there's an ashram of some type, or there is a retreat center of some type, and the spiritual teacher gets the best place and the best spot, and this is all shadow human shit. Like, it's impossible to escape it in our society. As soon as you interact, we go into these realms, and it's part of our conditioning and genetics. I don't believe that that's ever escaped. I believe that it gets less, and the human evolves and evolves and expands to come more in line with non-duality, but it never ends. It's always going to happen and appear when there's interaction on the table. Yes.